And I would like to introduce now our final speaker for this first session. I welcome Felix Müller, who until recently led the Department of Ecosystem Management at the Institute for Natural Resource Conservation of Kiel University in Germany. His work concentrates on using ecosystem modeling and holistic approaches for the management of human environmental systems. And today, he will talk on the themes of ecosystem services, ecosystem integrity, and the resilience and adaptability of ecosystems. Thanks, Felix. The floor is yours.
You're still on mute, though.
Now it should be working.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, being aware that such things can happen and that one might be late in a presentation, I thought I could this time start with the answer in the beginning. So the question was, is most always best? And the unexpected answer is, well, it depends on the subject, of course, and on the question, most of what? And one outcome will be tentatively, mostly, this is not the case. And during the next, hopefully 15 minutes, I would like to discuss the question why. And I would like to start doing this with some starting point. One of them is our new ecology book, and things I will be telling are somehow related to the 8th chapter of it. And during this book, or in this book, we have been very strongly working on the ideas of growth and development in ecology. And there are similar ideas about growth and development in economy. And the question is, how are these different ideas related? This would be the second starting point. The third one is that I'm a happy guy. I have been visitor to these Vienna talks several times before, and I have given reports on resilience of ecosystem and landscapes and floods, and we were comparing international long-term ecological research projects, and we were discussing different crazy forms of the adaptive cycle from the Resilient Alliance. The fourth point is that I want to make some very simple definitions about ecosystem integrity, which is the self-organization capacity of an ecosystem. When we talk about ecosystem condition, we think of the ability to provide ecosystem services, and they are the natural contributions to human welfare. And I would like to start the hunting of an answer to this crazy question with the practical example. We will be going to northern Germany, to the Bornhövel Lakes once more, where we have been indicating ecosystem integrity by some oriental-based indicators. And here we can see the beech forest, which you can see here, and the values are set as 100%. And we will compare it with the neighboring maize field, which has been a forest 100 years ago. So what we see is the outcome of 100 years of agriculture. And we will not only look at the integrity, but also at the services. And there we have the provisioning, some cultural and some regulating services. And now the calculations and measurements have shown that the maize field has a high exergy capture, but many of the other items are low. And here we can see the figure of the ecosystem services, and you can see there's a lot of food production. So what has been going on here is an optimization into one direction, and therefore all the other indicators, all the other values have become small. And knowing this, we can ask, what do you think is most always best? We can continue and look a little bit at our theoretical ideas in this book. Imagine there's an ecosystem developing in a natural fashion towards a state of wilderness. Then this system would follow simple thermodynamic rules. And what we observe very often is such a dynamics. Here we have the developmental state. Here we have an so-called orienter variable, and this variable is steadily rising towards a certain attractor state or a goal function where we have a lot of different components, different interrelations, nonlinear interrelations where the connectance is increasing the network cohesion and the overall complexity of the system as well. So we can say orienters are indicators of ecological systems which are regularly optimized throughout undisturbed environmental development. So are these parts of the Lazy 8 figure from the Resilience Alliance. Now, therefore, they of course are related to growth and development processes, growth mainly reflecting quantities, development qualities. And there's always the question, and it still is there, does this high complexity also mean you have a high security or a high stability? Again, the question is most always best. And what I have learned in my ecology studies was that this has such a wonderful mutual elasticity, this spider web, that we can take it as a paragon for system stability, but we did not look at these suspensions right here. So if you take them also into account, it doesn't look so stable anymore. So our orienters are related with some developmental gains like diversity, heterogeneity, complexity, but there are also many costs like respiration, and we are losing flexibility and things like viability. This has been realized by Tainter as well for human systems, and he has listed a lot of benefits which we have from complexity, and during the growth, the oriented dynamics, this complexity and the benefits of it are steadily rising until a certain point when they move down again. And in this downward movement, we can see that there are maintenance costs which are growing enormously in complex systems. The flexibility is reduced. And in the end, we come back to what Bob Ulanovitz has been showing us before, to his window of vitality. And the question is whether there is a similarity between these approaches from the human environmental systems and our ecological ones. What we can say in any way is that high complexity can be related with high risks of losing network cohesion. And once again, we must say, well, most complexity must not always be the best. We once more come back to these orienter ideas when the system is regularly moving towards a certain attractor state, which in former times was understood as the final stage of ecosystem development. Now we have to say that this maturity is correlated with risk. And here we have all the orienter functions which are derived from network and information theory from thermodynamics. And here we have a list of respective risks. I know that you cannot see it, but you can download this table maybe and take a look at it afterwards. So we can summarize and say there is a strong reduction of flexibility and adaptability. So some people are talking about over-connectedness, and in these orienter stages, there is quite a big risk for a certain breakdown. Once again, mostly the highest is not the best. Now we come to ecosystem services, which are no orienters. They are totally anthropocentric, only related to human well-being, and they are matters of management in the ecosystems. Nevertheless, we can try to bring them in contact with our orienter theory and say that the orienter grow. We have said this before. One of them might be biodiversity, another one might be integrity. And here we can say that the regulating ecosystem services behave similar to that. But if we look at the provisioning services, they are high in young stages and they are getting low in older stages. And the cultural services also have a behavior which gives them a peak near the end, but not in the total end of the story. And if we have a disturbance, you could see, then we are having retrogressional dynamics. We are moving backwards. This means there's no free lunch. So all positions, for example, this agro-ecosystem here, have advantages, but they also have disadvantages. It's the same concerning our national park over there. That means land users really must decide which options they want to optimize. And by concentrating on one target only, you have to be aware that all the others are lost. Here you have only production and all the rest shows very, very small values. And the highest flexibility and viability could be somewhere in the middle. So this is a point which has been discussed with our colleague Larry Lee very often. Once again, do you think most is the best? It's not quite clear, but mostly not. And if we once more take a look at Bob's window of vitality, we may find a parallel to our highest security, but there are also rare ecosystems at the side. If we say the mainstream ecosystems might be located right here. And these rare ecosystems, of course, also have a certain value, and they can become very important, for example, for nutrition, or here we can see they can become very important for climate regulation if we need places for carbon storage and carbon sequestration. Then these edge systems can become very important for mankind. So this is also not the case to say the more the better. And then we still have resilience and adaptability. Resilience as the ability of a system to return to where it was before. So this is somehow a small scale dynamics around this developmental phases. And adaptability as the ability to move forward and complexify after a certain disturbance. If we maximize them, if we maximize resilience, we would have a very rigid and fixed system. And if we maximize adaptability, we would have a very uncontrolled and insecure dynamics. So also here, it may be the case that tentatively, mostly, most is not the best. Now, if we list all these different ecosystem features, which we have heard about before, and look at them a little bit critically, we can say that all maxima, as we have seen in the Bornholm Lakes example, somehow provoke minima of related components. And even the positive items turn to disadvantages when they are too strong. In the rare positions can become very important if we have a crisis situation. This means that for sustainability management, we have to look for multifactorial optimization, and high diversity is important. And before all, learning ability plays a very, very big role. So what we have to do within these systems is train the adaptive capacity of these systems and be aware that sustainability is a compromise between all these different nice features. Yeah, so we come back to our initial question, and you know the answer already. The answer is it depends, but tentatively, in many cases, most is not the best. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Felix. For me, it was interesting that you made quite an explicit link between some of the network properties and the ecosystem services that then could go on further to link back to Ika's talk again, how we use this in this social ecological system. And I could imagine that this theme will also be quite a fruitful one for the discussion session that we have now.